Have you ever felt lost in life? Like you're walking through a maze with no map, no meaning, no clear direction. Even though you're doing everything that you thought you were supposed to do. That feeling of silent confusion hits millions of people every day. And most don't know where to turn to. But what if there was a map? A map to show us what to do, where to go, how to live. What if one book was written 2,000 years ago that still shows who you are, why you're here, and what really matters? In a way that totally just cuts through all the noise of this modern day life. Well, in this video, we're breaking open the book of Matthew, the first book in the New Testament, and the one that answers one of life's biggest questions that we have. Who can I trust to guide me when everything feels confusing? I'll be honest. I've had seasons where I thought to myself, I feel like I'm making progress, but am I actually going in the right direction? Like, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I doing what I'm created to do? Like, I feel kind of lost, but I feel like I'm doing things, but does it matter? And is it, because my biggest fear is doing things that don't matter in the long run. And so I'm a person that I really care about doing things the right way, but I'm not always confident that I am doing things the right way. And that's the tension that we all face. That tension, right? That fear of wandering in the wilderness of your life, and the tension of wandering and being purpose-driven, focused, going in the right direction, doing the right things. That is the tension that some of us face. I know at least I do. You may not face that, but I know I face that, right? And so that's exactly why the book of Matthew hits me so hard. And probably we've all felt that, right? Like, we've all felt that low-grade fear that says, what if I'm getting this wrong? What if we're busy but not becoming who we're supposed to become? What if we're working hard but not winning in the right areas? Like, we're trying all of this stuff out, but we're not truly transforming. And so we're going to get into the book of Matthew today and just give you an overview of this book, the first book in the New Testament, the book of Matthew. Now, before we do all that, let me give you a brief introduction and a background of Matthew. See, the book of Matthew was written by Matthew, the tax collector. And a tax collector was someone that society saw as shady, selfish, and suspicious. And for a lot of reasons, because they were shady. And because in Jewish culture, tax collectors, they were not just disliked, they were despised because they had shady practices, right? And then Matthew is this shady tax collector, and he goes from counting coins to counting the cost of following Christ. That's the transformation that we're talking about today. And that transformation alone sets the tone for the book. This book was written to show Jesus as the long-promised Messiah, the true King. And Matthew constantly connects Jesus to that Old Testament prophecy. And so let's talk about the structure of the book of Matthew. Matthew is brilliantly structured in 5 major teaching blocks. It mirrors the books of Moses, Genesis through Deuteronomy, like Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, like those 5 books that Moses wrote. These books kind of mirror that, right? And this is Matthew's way of saying that Jesus is the new Moses. He's the ultimate teacher and ultimate deliverer. Here's a quick list of how the book is structured. The first thing is the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount is all about the kingdom values, like Jesus teaching the kingdom values. 2 is the mission discourse. It's all about about kingdom workers. Like we are supposed to be kingdom workers and how to work in the kingdom, how we're supposed to be on mission working for God. The third thing is the parables of the kingdom, right? These are the kingdom's mysteries. Like Jesus is teaching these parables, and these are the mysteries of the kingdom. Now, they're mysteries because they're hidden from people who are outside of the faith, but those mysteries can be unlocked for us who are in the kingdom of God. And then the fourth thing is the community discourse. This is all about kingdom relationships, like how to be in relationship with your fellow brother and fellow sister in Christ. The fifth thing is the Olivet discourse. And this is talking about the future of the kingdom. What's to come in the kingdom. Now this structure, it's a perspective shift, right? It's like you need to have a perspective shift. It's writing to us to show us that our perspective needs to be changed. And so it's not that Jesus is this. So they thought of him as this prophet just coming to offer advice, but that's not it. Jesus is not just some prophet that's coming to offer advice. Jesus is offering a whole new way of life. This book is about transformation, and it's the best kind of transformation, or should I say the only kind of transformation. It's the transformation that doesn't just tell you what to do. It reshapes who you become so that you naturally make better decisions. And then Matthew's structure is that kind of transformation. The book of Matthew has some themes. The themes of the book of Matthew is the first theme is Jesus is the true king. He's the true king. This theme confronts the tension between the earthly power and the eternal power. It reminds us of a concept in psychology about the illusion of control, right? And the illusion of control is where people think they have control. But that's why it's an illusion, because none of us have any control. We don't have any control whatsoever. And if you think you have control, it's an illusion. And you might be delusional to think that you have control. You control nothing. And so this illusion of control is where people just cling to a fake certainty. That's what it really is. Like, you don't have any control. And so Matthew invites us to release that illusion of control that we have and embrace a real king with real authority. All right, theme 2 is the kingdom of heaven. Again, that is the theme, the kingdom of heaven. And Matthew uses this phrase, the kingdom of heaven, 32 times in the book. Now, what is the kingdom of heaven? Well, it's not, you may think of it as a place, but it's not necessarily a place. It's a realm. It's a realm. It's a whole new way of life. The kingdom is a realm where the king rules and reigns over his kingdom, right? And so that's what it is. And it's not necessarily a place. It's a whole new way of life. And so it's like a company shifting their culture from the inside out. See, Jesus launches a kingdom culture that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary disciples. That's the whole purpose. And theme 3 is true discipleship. True discipleship. Matthew shows discipleship is not about status. It's not about being a church member, right? It's about being a disciple of Christ. What is a disciple? A disciple is a student, is a follower of Christ. And so it's not about being a church member. It's about, are you a disciple? Are you a true follower of Christ, right? Because if you're not that, it doesn't matter how much you go to church if you're not a true disciple of Christ. Jesus didn't come for us to have church membership. He came for us to have discipleship. And so it's not about status. It's all about surrender. It's like a runner who trains for a marathon. It's not just about winning the marathon. Although that's nice and you want to win, it's not just about winning the marathon. It's about learning endurance, learning how to run long distances and have endurance and strength and stamina, right? That's what it's all about. And so Matthew is saying the same thing. The path with Jesus is long. So you need to have stamina and endurance, because although it's long, it leads to life, and it is the ultimate way of life. Okay, so I gave you all that kind of background information because it all boils down to this one thing, the one most important verse in the book of Matthew. This is the verse. And the verse is Matthew 16:16. And Matthew 16:16 says, Simon Peter answered, and he said, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Now, what does that mean? What is Simon Peter? The reason why Simon Peter answers that is, let me show you. Let me go to the book of Matthew, chapter 16. And Matthew chapter 16, starting in verse 13, it says, when Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? Well, they replied, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, others say Jeremiah or one of the other prophets. But then he asked them, but who do you say that I am? And then that's where we get to verse 16. Simon Peter answered, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, you are blessed, Simon, son of John. That's Simon Peter, Simon, son of John. You are blessed because my Father in heaven has revealed this to you. You did not learn this from any human being. What Jesus is saying is, everybody else, all the other disciples were saying, some say you're Elijah, some say you're Jeremiah, some say you're one of the other prophets. But Peter, God revealed to Peter who he was. And that's why Peter said, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. And Jesus said, blessed, you are blessed because you know this information and man couldn't give you this information. It was revealed to you by God. And so he said, you did not learn this from any human being. And then Jesus said, now I say this to you, Peter, which means rock. Upon this rock, I will build my church and all the powers of hell will not conquer it. And I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you forbid on earth will be forbidden in heaven. And whatever you permit on earth will be permitted in heaven. And so this verse, when Peter answered, this revelation that Peter got, it's the whole sum of the book. It's saying it's the whole entire heartbeat of the book. It's saying that Peter recognized Jesus is the Messiah. He is the Son of the living God. That's the heartbeat of the entire book. And Matthew is providing us, he's proving that this is the one truth. Jesus is the King. And let me ask you, if you could know the one thing that helps you to stop feeling lost, that helps you from stop feeling scared or stuck, wouldn't you want that answer? Well, this verse is that answer. Jesus is King. And the whole book of Matthew builds up to this moment, and it's like it's a grand reveal of who Jesus really is. And so we see here Jesus is asking the disciples, who do people say that I am? Some say he was a prophet. Some say, and they were telling him what other people were saying, right? He said, that's why, and Jesus asked, who do people say that I am? They say you're a prophet. They say you a teacher. They say you are Jeremiah. But then Jesus said, but who? I'm asking you. Now I'm asking you, who do you say that I am? And Peter, bold, audacious Peter, said, you are the Christ. He's finally broke through all that noise that everybody else was talking, and God gave him a revelation. He said, you are the Christ. And that truth changed everything. Now, let's break this down even more. Let's talk about all of the things that were going around at that time, like all of the people and the places and the circumstances and all of that. Let's talk about that, all the environment that they were in, right? Now, like I said, you got Peter, Simon Peter, who was one of the 12 disciples, one of the 12 apostles. And Peter, like I said, Peter was bold. Peter was known for his strong faith and his impulsiveness. Peter was very impulsive. Peter is the one that when they came to arrest Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, Peter was the one that was like, no, you ain't. And he took off his sword and cut the man's ear off. Peter was radical. Peter was always the one that was ready to fight. Peter was always about it. Like Peter was ready to jump off at any moment. And so Peter was often seen as the leader among the disciples. That's who Peter was. Now, where were they? They were in this place called Caesarea Philippi. And if you know anything about, if you read and study this place, this location where they're having this conversation, Caesarea Philippi, it was a region that was known for its pagan worship, right? They had pagan gods. And this is the area that they're in when Jesus is asking this question. So this makes Peter's confession even more significant. But like where they are, it just makes it all the more significant. It makes it even more significant that Peter confessed that you are the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of the living God. That's why it's so significant, because Peter said, you are the Son of the living God. And why is that important? He didn't just say that you are the Son of God. He said you are the Son of the living God. And the reason why that's so important is because, again, they're in Caesarea Philippi, a place where they're worshiping these pagan idols. And these pagan idols they're dead gods. They're dead, right? All of the things that they worshiped at that time, today, all that stuff is dead. All those people are dead. But God is the living God. And so what Peter said, it emphasizes the active and the eternal nature of God. And that contrasts with the dead idols that they were worshiping in Caesarea Philippi. That's why it's so important. And then Peter says this, and you got the disciples that are around. Now let me tell you about the disciples. The disciples, now they were this group that were followers of Jesus. And they, at that time, this is important because at that time they were still learning and they were still growing in their understanding of Jesus' true identity. They still didn't know. They was with him all the time. They saw him performing miracles and all that, but they still was kind of confused. They still didn't fully trust in his true identity and who he was. And so this confession is not just for us, it was for them too at that time. Now, what does all of this teach us? Well, it teaches us, like Peter's confession of faith, it's a model for believers today. It's a model. Recognizing Jesus as the Christ. Christ is a title, the Messiah, right? Christ is not his name. Christ is a title. Jesus the Christ. Recognizing Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God. When you recognize that, it's foundational to the Christian faith. You can't be a Christian and not recognize Jesus is the Son of the living God. That's foundational knowledge right there. And this teaches us the revelation that comes from God, right? Understanding Jesus' true identity is not just an intellectual thing. You can't just think about it. It's not intellectual. It's revealed by God. It's revelation, right? And so believers should seek divine revelation and insight through prayer and through study. What else does this teach us? This teaches us that of the courage in the confession. See, Peter's boldness, he was bold, but think about where he was. He was in Caesarea Philippi, right? He was in this pagan setting, right? Where the believers, they were challenged in their beliefs. And so being able to have courage to stand firm in the face of all these other beliefs is important for you to know. You got to have courage to stand firm and to stand tall and to not compromise what you believe, even when you're surrounded by all these contrary beliefs. What else does this teach us? Well, this teaches us the role of the church. Peter's confession is the cornerstone of the church. That's why Jesus said, upon this rock I will build my church. Upon this, what you just said, upon this revelation, I will build my church. And so believers are called to build their lives and build their communities on the truth of who Jesus is. And then the last thing this teaches us is it teaches us that we are supposed to have a living faith. Our faith is supposed to be alive, living faith, a now faith. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for. Like, we're supposed to have a living faith. Jesus, like Peter understood Jesus as he grew in his belief. His faith had to been living and act like he had to grow in that belief. And so we are encouraged as believers, we are encouraged to continually deepen our relationship with Christ and continually grow in our faith. That's a living in an active faith. And so here's the takeaway, the simple lesson that we can learn from this. Jesus is king. And if he's the king, I can trust him with my life. And so imagine what would happen if we believe this. Imagine if our families believed that he was king. Imagine if our communities lived like he was king. Imagine if our churches actually followed him as king. If our world trusted him as king, imagine what would happen. Well, probably we would not live like we're lost. Probably we would not walk in fear. Most likely we would not wander around without direction, wandering in wilderness, but we would live with confidence, clarity, and courage because the king has come. And so that's what the book of Matthew is really about. And that's why I wanted to break this down in this video about the book of Matthew. It's about a king that has come to save us all. And so I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this blessed you. And if it did, please share this with somebody who you know needs to hear this message. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.